So we're back in the shop. It's been a few hours since we harvested this honey, and today we're going to put to the test one of the cheapest honey extractors that Amazon offers, and this is the one with the electric motor. We found one for $230. We'll talk about it here in a little bit, but this is it right here. I kind of got it set up, and we actually got it last year, but today we're going to do more of a video on it because I had a lot of people asking what we use and this and that, and this is the perfect time since we just harvested our honey. It's been sitting in here for a couple hours now. Most of the bees have left. It's almost in the evening time. I've been waiting a little bit so the temperature kind of dies down a little and it's not so hot. I think it was like 90 degrees today and super humid because we've been getting a lot of rain here lately. But we got all of our stuff pretty much laid out. We got our medium super frames here full of honey. We got some more over here, and then we have two deep frames, so these are going to be a lot more honey per frame on these things. I had these in the freezer, so they're still frozen. I kind of just let them sit here for a little bit to see if they thaw out, and they're starting to thaw out, but they're not quite there. And then we got a filter, and then we got even a smaller filter here, and we're going to make sure this honey is really clean. This just sets down in the bucket, and I'll show you guys. And then we got our uncapper. This is a roller uncapper, just like a paint roller, except it's got these little spikes on there. And what that does is all these little combs of honey, it pops them. And what that does is it allows this right here, this spins. You set your frames down in there and this spins. So that spins, and then all of the honey inside all of these combs, it spins it to the outside wall. And it runs down, and it's going to run into this bucket where the filters are going to sit, and we're going to fill this up, and then we'll start filling up our jars or bottles. So I'm going to go, I got to grab one more thing. I got to go grab a tub to lay these frames in as I uncap them because it's kind of sticky, and it kind of starts draining everywhere. So I'm going to go get a tub that I got in the house, and we'll get started on that. So these buckets with lids make very nice honey buckets. And then you can buy these gates, drill your hole, and put that on there yourself. Saves a lot of money. Or you can just buy the bucket with the little gate already on it. But they're like 30 bucks or something crazy. And most of all this stuff is stuff that we did purchase on Amazon. So if you guys are interested in any of this, be sure to check in our Amazon store. Or down in the description, you can find all that stuff. Alright. We're going to get this set up before we start uncapping everything. We're going to go ahead and open this guy up. And the reason we went ahead and opened this up is the last time we used this extractor, we didn't open this up and the honey kept filling up and this thing twirls all the way down, all the way about 2 inches from the bottom. And what it did is it put tons of air in our honey, and the honey looked white, and it stayed like that for a long time. And we didn't even sell any of it because it just looked weird. It looked like creamed honey or something. So a tip I might say, if you're going to be using an extractor like this, make sure you open your gate and don't run the motor while you got honey up here, or it's going to be kind of funky looking. Alright, time to start uncapping some honey frames. So like I said, guys, this thing is just a roller. You want to line up your roller with the edge of the frame, and you don't want to press too hard. And the reason we are using this roller instead of like a uncapper knife or a scraper, some people just go down here and just scrape their frames. You got a lot of wax. This way we can reuse this frame as soon as we spin it out. Maybe tomorrow or the next day, I will take this frame and go put it right back into the honey super hive so the bees can just get busy and start refilling it. And they already have all the wax ready to go. If you just take a scraper and you start scraping all this, they're going to have to build all this back up, all the comb back up, before they can start storing honey and nectar in it. You don't have to push real hard. These little spikes do a pretty well job. Alright, time to put the second one in there. I'm going to show you guys what this looks like. Show you the inside. So what we're doing, we're just going to drop this frame down inside this cage here. Alright. And plug it in. We're not gonna. I'm gonna leave the top off. It comes with these covers or lids, and I'm gonna turn it down really, really slow and turn it on. So this is how it works. Let's see if I can slow it down a little. Of course, this is super, super slow. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and speed it up. Now, one thing about this extractor is it wobbles really, really bad. So down here, I got some 2x4s and I went ahead and screwed it to that post and screwed the legs down to the 2x4s because it does shake pretty bad. And it does have holes here where you could anchor this down to concrete if you wanted to. But I want to be able to move it out of the way since we'll only pretty much use it once a year. So let's crank her up a little bit. And here in a minute we should have some honey. So now we just play the waiting game. Alright, so that's what it looks like when the honey starts coming out. Fresh from the farm. Okay, we are now on the second set of frames, and something I want to show you guys. I kind of beefed up the frame of this just a little bit. I went ahead and put some, I split a 2x4 in half and I screwed it down from the front to the back and added some weight here. And I'm going to show you guys something. So once this is done spinning, I let it go each side about 4 or 5 minutes. And it seems like about 40 is a magic speed to keep this thing from rocking too bad. So that's the only downfall so far to this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and slow it down before I turn it off. Alright, so that side's been going for a while now. So what we're going to do is, you want to spin this around till you can grab a frame. And you can kind of see, make sure all your honey's pretty much drained out pretty good. And you can tell it definitely gets a lot lighter. Twist that thing around 180 degrees, put it right back in there. So this machine, the cheapest one that we got off Amazon, does not have a reverse for the motor. So what you got to do is you got to take these out manually, flip them, and then turn it back on. But it's not really that big a deal. But they do make some more expensive honey extractors that has a reverse on the motor. That way you ain't got to take out the frames every time. You can see the honey's still flowing good. Starting to fill up down there. Okay, so we're still rocking and rolling, and I want to talk about why we use filters. Some beekeepers don't use filters, and you know, they claim that's all natural. The number one thing you want to make sure that you do not do when you're using these filters like this, I got this metal mesh filter. I don't know what size this is here, but there's a double layer underneath on the bottom, and it's even finer than this. Bee pollen is usually 25 microns. So the filter we are using here, I think this is a 200 micron filter. You want to use a filter that is way bigger than the bee pollen. That way the bee pollen, all the good stuff in the honey, the real reason that it benefits our health, you want the good pollen, you want all that stuff in the honey as natural as you can get. So you want to make sure you don't get a very, very small filter. You want to have one that's, you know, got bigger, way bigger holes than 25 micron. So in this case we're using a 200 micron. But anyways, it's still coming good, and you might see this over here. This is why we use these filters. There's a dead bee in there. You're gonna get dead bees. You're gonna get bugs and grass and all kinds of stuff in there. Bees are pretty clean little creatures, but on these, you know, you can see right here that sometimes they get dirty stuff on there. So it's just good to have a filter. It makes it more presentable and cleaner. So I wanted to show you guys this frame here. This one is super loaded. They built this out really, really thick. And that's probably because the frames were kind of spread a little farther. And that's not such a bad thing. It just means you get more honey on one frame. This year's our best honey harvest we've had so far since we've been beekeeping. So I'm really pleased. And we had a pretty mild winter, I guess. We did have some snow and some cold weather, but nothing that was like super cold for a long period of time. That's what's really hard on the bees. So I'll take it. And one thing when you're doing this is you are going to get super sticky. Yeah, everything I'm touching is just sticky now. And when I didn't have the camera rolling a while ago, I got tagged on the back by a bee. I guess one of them found its way through the door and decided to sting me on the back. Luckily it didn't hurt too bad. Okay, so this is like the fourth set of frames I've done, and I've kind of learned a trick on this thing. If you try to put these frames right dead center of the cage, it seems like it stays a lot stable and it don't rock the feet quite as bad. So just try to center them as best as possible, and you can kind of play around with them. If it starts shaking right off the bat, you can stop it and start again. That's pretty much the only negative to this thing. I mean, it does have the China feel to it. A lot of the screws and stuff like that kind of look cheap. You know, the legs look cheap. But you use it one time a year. I mean, is it really worth, on a small scale like we do, is it really worth paying $500 or $600 for something like this? I mean, in our case, we only got, what do we got, 5 hives now. Maybe 6 soon, if we can catch that trap from my parents. I think this thing is well worth the money. $230, the cheapest electrical honey extractor on Amazon. Of course, if we get probably 10 hives or more, we'd want to move up to at least a 4 frame. This one only does 2 frames at a time, so you can imagine how long it's going to take me to do these 30 frames. But see there, you center it perfect, and then you can turn the speed all the way up. I'm all the way up to 100 now, and it's not rocking too bad. And the honey is still coming. And the bucket is filling up pretty quick. I might have to get another bucket. So we got 14 frames of honey already extracted from a medium super box, and we got 12 more left to do. We got 10 more mediums and 2 deeps. So guess what? This 5-gallon bucket is pretty much almost full. So what we're gonna do, we got a brand new bucket here, all cleaned out and wiped out. We're going to shut the gate off, and then we're gonna transfer this empty bucket over here, because if we don't, I'm afraid we're gonna have a sticky mess. We're going to close the gate off so we don't make too much more of a mess. I've already got honey all over the floor. Alright. So let's just do this. Now we are ready to rock and roll again. So I'm going to say we got about 4 gallons of honey in this bucket. And then we're going to continue going. We got to do 2 of these big ones and then this whole box here. And then we'll see what we end up with. Okay, so now we are down to the last 2, the biggest frames. Look at these. These are massive. And these were the ones that were frozen. So I'm not sure if they're ready or not, but we're going to try them. I might have to wait till tomorrow. We've been out here for 3 hours now. And these have been setting out for about 4. So I would be thinking these would be thawed out by now. Let's see. I still feel kind of cold, but we'll stick them in the extractor and see what happens. I think that's enough. Just a tad bit left in the extractor. Okay, so we got the gate on the extractor shut off because it's pretty much empty. It's just going to drip for a little bit. And now we just got to wait on this to get down through this bottom filter. And this is going to take a while. I'm going to let this set overnight. I'm going to cover all this really well. But let's take a look at how much honey we ended up with. I'm guessing we're going to end up with about, probably 4 and maybe 3. So probably 7 gallons total. That's how much is in here. Let me set this back down and cover this up really well with this cloth so no bugs get in here overnight. We'll set it up here on the table, actually. Don't need no creepy crawlies messing around with it. Alright. Then you got this one here. Look at that. I'm guessing about 4 gallons of honey. Man, this is going to be some good stuff. So there you guys have it. My review on this Chinese, the cheapest electric motorized honey extractor on Amazon for $238. You know, it's cheap. You get what you pay for like anything else, but it does the job. And even if it does break, we've used it for 2 seasons now. Even if it does break, you know, $238 compared to some of the bigger guys from $400 all the way up to several $1,000s. Like I said earlier, as many hives that we have, this thing really does the job well, and I'm gonna say it pays for itself. You know, if we had more than 10 hives, we'd probably look into getting a more commercial version. But I'm gonna recommend it if you guys have just a couple of hives. You want a good electric honey extractor. You just see me do 26 frames, work just great, and it's held up. The motor started getting a little squeaky, so I'm going to have to see if there is a place to get some food grade grease in it to kind of lubricate it, because there is some moving parts in there, but I didn't see a grease search. So I'm going to have to, there might be some food grade spray or something that you can spray on there. I'll have to research it. But yeah, there you go. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And tomorrow or the next couple days, I'm going to get all this back to the bees. And they'll do the cleanup. You know, there's still some honey in the comb and stuff like that. They'll clean it all up, get it all looking nice again, and they'll start harvesting nectar and putting it in there. And then we might get a fall harvest, or we'll just leave it for them to eat on through the winter. That way they're good and healthy and come back strong next spring. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to get in the house and get some of the sticky honey cleaned off. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, I invite you to do that. And leave a comment, and we'll see you next time.